Well, you can tell I'm not in my usual location today. I'm in my granddaughter Lily's bedroom at her desk. We had the chance to come and spend a couple of days here before Christmas, and that's always a good thing. So anyway, we're in First John chapter 2, and now we're ready. It's taken us a while to get here, but we're ready for verse 15, which is a really important. I don't know. It borders on command. It is at least an urgent plea. Okay, John writes, "Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in them. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires pass away, but whoever does the will of God lives forever." That, to me, if I could just imprint that on all of my kids and grandkids in their heart and mind, if for everybody I care for and love, for all my counselees, for every one of you, I would want that. See, one of the hard things about life is we're gonna love something. We're gonna love somebody. Love's just built into us. The need for, the urge to. It's part of the design. And really, here's one aspect of that whole design thing is God said, this is in Genesis, the very first book of the Bible, in the very first chapter, he said, "Let us make mankind in our own image." Okay, that could mean a whole bunch of different things. One is, if you think about an architect draws a plan, an image of what the building is going to look like. Okay, so God may be saying, "Let us make man according to our design." Second thing is image. If you spend very much time around my kids, you'll realize that Debbie, my wife, and I had, by God's grace, significant imprint on them. I mean, they are kind of, when you put all my daughters in a row with Debbie, you realize, wow, they're kind of peas out of the same pod. So there's the image in that sense that we reflect our likeness. One of the ways we reflect our likeness with God, our Creator, is in our ability to love, our desire to love. That's part of how God is and who He is. A little later, we're going to come across one short sentence by John that says, if you want to describe love in one, or God in one word, it would be love, where he writes, God is love. That's not all that God is. That's not the only thing that God is, but God is love. Always will be, always has been. Love. Now, our world, see, I don't have to make a big deal of this because anybody with half a brain already knows. Love is more than a feeling. You know, it love creates, it is stimulated by, you can't separate. It's unfair and unreasonable to separate love from feeling. But if love is all about the feeling, then what happens when the feeling goes? I mean, ask the righteous brothers. Whoever she was, she had lost that love and feeling. Whoa. And it happens. I talk with couples all the time who they've fallen out of love, or they're not in love anymore. Okay. Now, I'm not disrespectful of the reality that people feel that, okay? And that's a tremendously strong feeling. The difficulty is it's a feeling that's derived from a misunderstanding about love. Love involves feelings. But what is at the heart of love? I've talked about this a ton, and the reason is John is the apostle of love, and he talks about and writes about love over and over and over again in this letter and the other two letters that he wrote. Love, it's his theme. It's the drum he beats constantly. And I've already told you my favorite definition for love is doing for the other person what they really need. Is it always feeling about doing this thing really great about it? Or I don't think that's the case. I think doing for them what they really need, and I might even put a parentheses next, even when I don't feel like it. See, in some ways, that's a measure of the maturity, the depth of my love. Immature love is all about how you make me feel. And that's not evil. It's just immature. Mature love, well, there's another aspect of immature love. It's just a step up, but it has to do with, I love how I feel when I do something for you. The gratification I get for these interactions with you. I like what that feels like. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just immature. Immature love says, I will do my best to do for you what you really need, even when I don't feel like it. So when you set the parameters for love, you kind of put the guardrails up. There are, I don't know, I'm kind of tripping myself up here, probably getting way down in the weeds. The issue is, if you don't understand what love is, how can you understand what John is saying here? This is not a positive thing. What he's saying is, here's a guardrail. The guardrail needs to be intact. It's not just a fog line, it's a guardrail. See, the fog line that's that outside white line on the highway, that's so you'll know the edge of the road is close. A guardrail says, hey, you must not go past this. John writes, do not love the world or anything in the world. That's pretty strong. He's not saying, be careful, because there are things out there in the world that they're just not going to be good for you. No, it's stronger than that. Do not love the world or anything in the world. Now we talk about love. Now let's talk about the world. When John used that word, what was he talking about? He was not talking about the earth. When he said the world, he wasn't even talking about the width and breadth and depth of humankind. He was talking about the system of this world. He was talking about what this world treasures, the whole value system of the world. I think, to me, it's clear what he's saying is, don't let the system of values from the world hijack your values, because the world system stands in opposition to God's standard, God's values. Well, aren't there times when the world accidentally matches up with God's value system? Well, of course there are. Not many, but there are times when I have to say, yeah, it does. Does it generally? No. I believe the primary value of this world system is decide what you want and figure out how to get it. Okay. Does that sound like God's design? Not so much. You don't have to have a doctorate of theology to know that God's design, that his system, his value system, basically says, discover what God wants and figure out how to do that. Now, there's more to it, but that's I think the leading edge. The world, man, the world system is owned and run by our enemy, Satan. And John says, don't love the world. Don't love his system or anything in it. Now we're down to, okay, I don't want to love, I am going to take measures to discipline my life so as not to love the world system, right? I'm not going to give in to those values or anything in the world. Now we're down to stuff. Oh my goodness. We've moved more in the last 3 years than we did in the 20 years before that. I'll just tell you, moving is, I have 3 things that I really, really don't like. I have to be careful. I could say hate, but I don't know. That's fair. What I don't like, well, I don't like plumbing. Plumbing with my tools. Oh my gosh. If you had the right tools, to me, I've never had a plumbing success. It's always been a disaster. Okay. A second thing, car repair with my tools. You don't want to, oh heavens. I only have jokingly say, hey, if you need something fixed, don't call me. But if you need it broken, I'm your guy. Let me know, because I can break anything. Those 2 things. And then the third is even worse, is moving. I just despise moving. And some of it is just, it's so physically taxing. It's also emotionally taxing. It's financially expensive. When we moved, each time we moved, we had to get rid of stuff. How did we accumulate more stuff? It wasn't that long ago that we moved, right? We did downsize. There's only so much room in the truck. For me to just realize I'm a magnet for stuff. I have this theory that there's a principle. It's almost like a law of physics. It's the law of expansion to exceedance, which means, you probably heard this, your expenses will always expand to exceed your income. I don't know if you've noticed that, but for most people it's true. You got to have a very strong sense of self-discipline for this not to be the case. But this is also the case with time and obligations. My obligations they tend anyway, to expand to exceed the amount of time available. It's just how it works, unless I can harness my self-discipline. Well, the same thing is true with stuff. Your stuff will expand to exceed the limits of your ability to store and deal with and even use. How much of the stuff that we got rid of I hadn't used in over a year. Well, I heard one time the best way to decide if you need to clean your closet is go through it and decide, have I worn that this past year? If I have, I might keep it. If I haven't, it goes away. There are things in your life that you need to get rid of. There are things in your closet, in your garage, and in your rooms. Just things. Why do we keep them? Because we love them. Well, or because we just never thought about that may not be useful. Here's the thing. At some point, you no longer own your things. They kind of own you. It's one of the great values of what John said. Don't love the world or anything in the world. Don't let your heart get attached. Come back to this idea next time, because I've already burned up all my time today. I hope I get to connect with you again on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.